Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con over coming to you with another Company of Heroes 2 1v1. Going on with the same, let's say, pattern that I was going with on, well, what will it be at this point by the time I post this? But it'll be on Tuesday, so probably yesterday. I decided to pick up this game right here and showcasing the OKW forces, and well, in the blue trunks, of course, not just because they're cold, because they look spiffy and blue. The OKW forces of tightrope. And over here to the east, playing the Soviet forces, we see the red trunk troops of StC Macos. And Macos is actually already building himself a special rifle command and is calling it an early penal battalion. I know what you guys are thinking. Penal battalion? Why didn't he just go to support Evan Compania? Well, because he's got a little bit of a bulletin down here that says his penal battalion troops are a little bit more accurate. Tightrope in the meantime, like I said before, I kind of saw this game on the whole replay ladder, and I just had to go in and kind of give another shout out to a fellow commentator. Of course, way more popular than I am right now, but with your guys' help, that can change. But no, so Tightrope is going from very, very standard opening. Got the Kubelwagen, got the Volksgren, and he's kind of shifting out onto the map. And Macos looks like he's going to just ignore all of his conscripts this game. Looks like he's just going to go straight for Penal Battalion pretty much the entire way through. And while both troops are going for their initial moves, taking out initial territories, it looks like the first major point is probably going to go to Tightrope. Take a quick look at commanders. So Tightrope is bringing to the fray Special Operations Doctrine, Scavenge Doctrine, and the Fortifications Doctrine. Would be a lot of fun to see one of these latter two, but I definitely understand that the first one gets a lot of play because of the STGs and the infiltration grenade tactics. I don't know, but we'll see. Meanwhile, for Macos, what is he bringing to the fray? So Macos has himself Lend-Lease tactics. He also has, I think, a shock army. Yep, Soviet shock army with the conscript assault, shock troops, and the mortar, and guard motor coordination tactics. So he's got a lot of opportunities to be calling in mortars here. Last one, not so much, but he's got call-ins pretty much no matter which way he goes. Sturmpires are fleeing up to a certain degree to the north, picking up the strategic point, while the Germans have already captured the first VP of the game, and are definitely moving to take a major munitions point in the south, while they've also already secured their fuel in the north. Soviets have similarly gotten their fuel on point. And right now it looks like very much a meaty engagement of these SVT-40 Penal Battalion troops and these kind of very, very brave Volksgrens, which are sooner or later going to get shot out of that cover, let me tell you. Kubelwagen, in the meantime, is going to take a fair amount of firepower from another Penal Battalion, and a third one's going to be called in right now. You can see kind of overloading a little bit with the Penal Battalion troops, but might be just enough to get the Kubelwagen. No, he does make it away just barely in time, so Tightrope is on top of his gameplay by quite a bit. In the south, we are going to see a frustration decap of these Volksgrens, but similarly, we're seeing a push up here to the north by these Penal Battalion troops to kind of take on and take out the strategic point just to kind of limit the fuel for both sides. Kind of funny how often that happens. It's very much a higher level play and something to kind of always model your own play upon. Both guys have cut off the fuel for the opposite numbers, though for the Germans have managed to, let's say, hold on to that point a little bit longer. These Penal Battalion troops, in the meantime, are getting forced off rather quickly. But a fourth Penal Battalion squad is being called in, and Macos is just going all out, investing a ton into Tier 1. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. And the Germans are actually... and Tightrope has managed to go and take this southern fuel point. He's going to just probably hunker behind this tractor right now and have a very, very superior fighting position against the Soviet troops, at least for the time being. And with his own fuel now back in play, the Germans have a definite fuel advantage, at least for the time being, and will probably start to grow more and more as time goes on. Penal Battalion troops being forced back, this other fresh squad, though, being called in to try to deal with them. Oh no, these actually are conscripts, forgive me everybody. I thought they were Penal Battalions, but no, they don't have a star, they just have rifles and a love of the motherland, and they are off to fight. And they're definitely taking names on this Volksgren squad, which is bravely just trying to take on two Soviet squads and is barely going to make it out. Penal Battalion troops are shifting back to the rear yet again, and these conscripts are trying to fight off this oncoming, like, German death squads. But one Penal Battalion troop is back in play and forcing away some Germans, and while that fuel is going to get decapped, these conscripts are going to get forced away. So it doesn't matter if the Russians take back their point, because as of right now, this middle point is going to belong to the Germans, and that just cuts off all of the fuel and the munitions that the Soviets have managed to hold on to for quite a bit of time. While that's happening, Tightrope is going and taking the North VP, ignoring the southern part of the map right now, and who can blame him? He's got his first SWS in on the field, and my guess is, with 30 fuel, he could go for a mechanized regiment HQ, which I think would be a good idea at this point. The Kopenhagen dueling with the Penal Battalion troops, 1 star veterancy on 3 guys, and this flanking group of Penal Battalion is going to force away pretty much all the Germans from the eastern side of the map. I would really, I think I'd like to see a mechanized regiment headquarters. That would allow him to get a Panzer II out quickly, and with only a couple of squads of conscripts, it would have quite a good focus around the map. And yep, it is a mechanized regiment headquarters. Fantastic. But at 500-476, the Russians are going to manage a 2-to-1 cap in their favor for VP, so the tickets are slowly going to drain out of the Germans. And with that flamethrower moving forward is going to allow this Penal Battalion to rush into this building, this garrison, be right nearby. And be quite a nuisance, to put it delicately. Frying and causing those poor Germans down there to die. In the north, however, we're going to see combat engineers and a couple squads of very varied Soviet infantry coming forward. Are they going to be able to get this truck up in time? It's close, but they do, so that rifle fire is not going to be very good anymore. Oh, but that satchel charge might have something to do about it, and that might be more than enough. And it is. So Penal Battalion being very effective while fighting off a kind of expansion by the Germans. For their own part, the Soviets have not decided to really kind of expand any further with their own teching ability. They've definitely have the fuel for it, but have decided to kind of ignore that more or less. Now, the question is, will this squad go down? Yes, that Penal Battalion does go down, so a loss of a very, very pricey flamethrower. And now going to allow these Germans to kind of overload on the Soviets to the north while they go for their own frustration decap again from this Sturmpyos and the eastern side of the map. Yikes, but these Germans are starting to get picked out of cover. Gonna barely get away. Yes, he is. I thought for half a second that just kind of running into his own friends might be more than enough to see him fall, but that's not going to be the case. Instead, like I said, we do have first blood for Tightrope against the Soviets. He's taking a Penal Battalion squad, and with the capture of that point right down here to the south, the Soviets again have very, very limited resource income. Now the Sturmpyos, unfortunately, are just outnumbered like crazy and are fighting out in the open. If he had been able to slide quickly enough into the fray, he might have been able to really put the hurting on the Soviet troops. Back in the north, we do see the bleeding continues from both sides. This squad of Penal Battalion troops down to about 50%, 60% health, following, like, in terms of models, probably 20% otherwise. And these conscripts still holding strong, surprisingly enough. And the Soviets are taking back the middle part of this map, so 474 to 476 look to see a triple cap actually for the Soviets. But they finally are forced away by increasingly accurate German rifles. There is again a mechanized regiment headquarters, a second one of the incoming out, and Tightrope is kind of a little bit frustrated that he has to build this, I'm sure. And now the support weapon company is going to come out from Macos, which is probably not the one I would have gone for. I might have suggested actually going for that Tank of V battalion. Having a T-70 at this point, you know you've taken out your opponent's first investment of fuel, and you know pretty much more or less how much fuel has been gained on the map. So going for that T-70 I think would be a much better option as opposed to getting the support up of the Maxim and or mortars. But hey, again, that's just me. But that bad boy is up. He does not have the mechanics up, obviously, because first of all, it costs a lot of fuel that he really can't afford at the moment. And he doesn't need it, really. I mean, that Sturmpyo can repair the Kopenhagen easily enough if he has to. Folks, Grenadiers to the north are going to force back combat engineers and might be able to do the same for these conscripts. Yep, with those STGs, I think they are going to have a firepower advantage. But when all those extra Soviets come up, and that's just the wave tactics that seem to be so endemic of Allied players these days, one squad cannot fight off 3, even with automatic weapons. And the bleed continues for tightrope. Now, reminding me real quick, it costs 65 fuel. Okay, so we have another minute and a half or so before that Panther II can come out. And I think right now tightrope is making the right idea. In the meantime, he is picking himself up an MG-34 to really start suppressing a lot of this Russian infantry. And with this flamethrower on the field again, a second flamethrower has been purchased by another Penal Battalion squad. So look for him to hop into this garrison and look for the Germans to not go into the garrison at all. Oh no. Instead the garrison is flamed opportunistically by the Volksgrenadier. So invest in those munitions to keep that flank out as soon as possible. Now among this squad though, 5-on-5 in the open, 4-3. Probably gonna see another model or two drop. Gotta be at least one. Really, the received accuracy on retreat must be insane. All right, but in the south, we are gonna see these Volksgrenadiers can try to continue to fight off encroachment from the Soviets. And while he's gonna get backed off a little bit, keeping these combat engineers in the open is exactly what he wants to do. The negative cover is gonna beast those things like crazy. And he's not quite got himself that first star of veterancy. There we go, finally, at long last, 12 minutes into this game. He's been a very active combatant on the map. But he might see himself pushed away very quickly if he's not careful. This Penal Battalion coming up from behind might be more than enough to take him out. And he's bravely going forward. Nope, never mind. He's going to scoot himself away before anything terribly bad comes out after him. Now, the Germans can't afford their first Panther II onto the fray. And is there the MG-34 in this building? No, there is not. I would have thought that would be the perfect place to place him. But it seems he is preferring to be a little bit more static about his troop decisions. Oh no, here we go. So this thing's going to lock down the center part of the map like crazy. A huge field of fire. Just that MG line of troops. So excellent. And the Germans themselves are now going to actually buy themselves a Puma. So not going for a Panther. Trying to think about if that's a great idea or not. Oops, never mind. There goes an STG squad of Volksgrens. But with the Ziscon now coming onto the field, is the Puma? I never realized that the Puma is actually really that good against infantry. I don't think it is. No, it's not. That 5cm cannon is nice against pretty much anything shy of a T-34, and even in some cases good against a T-34. But it's not going to be enough to really be taking on all the kind of endless infantry that seems to be coming out from Macos. Now, I really would also like to see Macos really be teching up at this point. He's got a ton of infantry, 6 squads worth, 4 of those really being mainline infantry. And he's really, I think, squandering the amount of resources that he's got in the bank. Yes, it is true that he has taken a very dominant position on this map. As you can see right here, of course, in the map itself, most of it is fairly red, and he's going to take a 2-to-1 advantage again in that VP advantage. But he's got 200 fuel. Anti-tank grenade coming out, damaged engine, big deal. The Germans are just going to continue to lay on some firepower, maybe try to get him even a little bit lower, bleed out Macos a little bit more. And never mind, he's okay though. So all those guys make it away, a little bit of HP damage again, but nothing too much to write home about. In the meantime, we are going to see that these squads are still kind of hunkering down the center part of the map, not being accessed too well. Macos decides to go, after all, for that shock army. So look to see those conscripts pick themselves up some PPSs rather soon. I would get those pretty quickly. I mean, geez, for 40, the thing is a bargain. And in the meantime, we still don't see any other tech structure going up for him. So, like I said, in my mind, really truly wasting that opportunity. He's got tightrope, not so much against the ropes, no pun intended. But he does have him in a very disadvantageous spot. Both players have made their first anti-tank weapons, committed anti-tank weapons. The Rakettenwerfer has absolutely no target whatsoever, and the Puma is not going anywhere near where that Ziscon is, which I think is sliding further to the north. No, he is not. He's actually right back here in the center again, folks. Excuse me on that one. But as you can see right here, the Soviets are again pushing to the west. Both Peanut Battalion squads have flamethrowers, and there are those conscript assault packages. So the Russians taking a hauntingly fierce firepower advantage. Watch this squad melt away, I'm sure. Oh, never mind. They managed to get out just in time. This Puma is going to be very, very severely diminished in its fighting power. The Ziskon's probably get at least one round off. Doesn't manage to hit though, so forget that. But the Germans are up against it by quite a bit. They do have battle group headquarters being called in, and that's probably about the only thing that's going to keep them in this game. Is maybe calling in another MG? No. Would that be it? Maybe that would be it. Taking up's not going to be able to help him, and right now he is just... Whew. There is so much pressure against all of these, this Puma. But that fierce assault does peter out. We are going to see one of those conscript squads bug out and just die.
The enemy still has 300 points. Mortar team reports ready for combat.
And we're going to see instead now that whole massive assault start to lose momentum just enough. Oh no, but never mind, guys. We actually see what the real intent of this was. Trying to lay siege to mechanized regiment headquarters over here with that Zisgun, getting off a single shot, but being forced away by a resurgent German force. Are those medics out? Yep, the medics are out, and that first mortar, as you heard, has been called in.
Supply lines have been cut.
And both guys are basically trading off on the resource grabbing. We see a big, big push. Blob of Germans running in the north, all with STGs, firing on the retreating Soviets, and not going to be able to really pick too many of them up, but certainly back them off rather severely. The Ziskan does manage to get a sneaky hit on top of the Kubelwagen, and very, very lucky that that thing... Ooh, never mind. Luck has nothing to do with it anymore. That guy is dead. I have no idea sometimes how the Ziskan does not just one-shot a Kubelwagen. I mean, maybe it's just nitpicky, but you would think that thing would be dead in like a heartbeat. Oh well.
Enemy forces capturing supply sector.
243 to 472. It looks like Macos has a absolute massive stranglehold on the map. And in many respects he does, but again, he is not taking up at all, which is really, really bothering me. There we go. We finally see Tank Heavy Battalion Command coming out 18 minutes into this game, as the Germans really do have a Puma, which can deal with pretty much anything on the field, anything that can be fielded, excuse me, by Macos at this time. Yeah, yikes. I hope there's not like a T-70 coming out now, but 18 minutes into this game. 18! Another MG coming out for the Germans. Probably a good idea there. With the medics on the field as well, we are going to see a much more durable set of units coming out, I believe.
The enemy is encroaching on our territory.
And not a moment too soon. Because if you realize that there's a lot of veterancy on these mainline squads. Every single one of these main battle squads has at least 2 stars. Even the combat engineers have picked up a star apiece. While the Germans can match them pretty well. If the Germans manage to scale up a little bit more, and here's a T-70, not sure I agree with that one. The Germans continue to scale up with their veterancy. They could devastate pretty much any Soviet infantry on the field. So IL-2 attacks, though, kind of force away that Puma. The Puma desperately wants to charge in after those combat engineers. But those IL-2s are nothing to sneeze at. And on retreat, probably going to see a couple guys die here. No, MG-34 instead pinning one of those squads, coming under fire from the the Ziskan in turn. But regardless of that, we are going to see that the Sturmpyos and that Puma have come up north to pick on that combat engineer squad as well. So even though there are losses being suffered by the Germans, for every loss there is at least some manner of a gain. And there's this T-70 now, like I said, coming in the middle part of the field. And I don't agree with, first of all, happens even on the map. Looking at what's even here, SU-76 would be a better option altogether. So make sure the T-70 can really penetrate too well. We are going to see scavenge tactics coming out of tightrope. He has called in some of those Jaeger lights to chill in this building right here. It would really cause an issue for the conscripts that are trying to recapture this munitions point. They need to watch out though, because with that flamethrower right there, they get picked up, unfortunately. And what had been a very, very interesting idea is not going to pan out. Looks like we're going to even drop that Strumpio squad, which could be quite a loss. Nobody manages to make it away. In the meantime, this T-70 is going to get outflanked by this Puma. Yes, he takes a round from the T-70, but that thing is now deceased. And the armored vehicle for the Russians is kaput. Total kaput. More shock troops now. Okay, so shock troops are coming onto the field. So the Russian, let's say, lineup is nothing if not diverse. Puma, in the meantime, is going to just kind of chill and allow itself to be executed by the Zisgun. That stinks. Oh well. Jaeger lights, in the meantime, coming around here, do find this mortar squad, and with a very, very hefty... Oh, nope, never mind. Infiltration grenade assault's been used already. Oh, no, because he's just been called in. But this screams right now, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him now. Take as many models as possible. It is just a gift wrap. I don't know. Never mind, it's not going to happen. Okay, so MG-34 is back into the face of this onrushing Soviet assault, this Urang galore. And with negative cover, this guy's going to get shredded. The only real turnaround here is if those Soviets are going to get shredded on retreat. Running down the middle part of this road, they are surprisingly not negative cover. Instead, we are going to see both squads of Germans in the north getting a fair amount of veterancy. Actually, the first full veteran unit for the Germans is out and about. Yikes! And that shock troop grenade destroys that MG-34. Watch the MG-34 now get picked up by the shock troops. All those PPS's, all that body armor, this is brutal, brutal, brutal losses. But my favorite light friend is coming in. Here comes that Flak Panzer.
Enemy forces are neutralizing a sector.
And if the Strumpires are lucky, they might be able to take out this stolen MG-34 in retreat. Maybe not. No, folks, never mind. They are going to get away cleanly. But what that will allow is first of all, this Flak Panzer to assert itself in the north with really no means of Soviet counterplay. The shock troops are probably going to go down in retreat. This guy is just, of course, massacres infantry like crazy. Between the Strumpires and the reloaded Flak Panzer... Oh my gosh. My friend, Boo Boo, hit him, kill him. Yikes, and somehow those shock troops make it away. Conscripts coming up, trying to get themselves an anti-tank grenade on top of that bad boy. And with the Zisgun nearby, here comes the anti-tank grenade, damaged engine. And the Zisgun is now going to try to move in for the kill. Guys, whatever you're doing, stop, drop, and help out your friend. He needs you. If you can keep those conscripts at arm's length, at least it will mean that the Zisgun cannot get himself some line of sight, and that'll be just as much a victory as keeping that Flak Panzer alive. But instead, it does look like he's got line of sight on that, so it's got to be quick. And that mortar coming in every single time those rounds come in, I just think to myself, is that going to be the round that takes out a squad? 206 to 393, the Germans are going to cap up this northern VP while they are forcing back the Soviets from the center one. They're going to take some intermittent mortar fire as well as just insane attention from the Zisgun up. Infiltration tactics, assault doesn't accomplish a whole lot. The shock troops instead are going to show up and kind of really start to abuse the Jaeger lights, who fall back in the face of such monstrous firepower.
Are attempting to capture our territory.
More Jaeger lights have been called in, trying to be used to support this northern squad. So as the shock troops consider moving to the left, first of all, it's not going to go very well. They're going to get forced back rather quickly, but definitely another squad there to kind of pick on them should they decide to be more aggressive, at least to support this northern squad of Jaeger lights. StC Macos has finally decided to go for that last tier building. He's got himself that gorgeous, gorgeous mechanized armor Uncle Compania, and he's got more than enough fuel to support several T-34s to really just take on that single Flak Panzer and that single Rakettenwerfer, which he does know exists, though he hasn't seen it in quite some time. Grenade goes in, Jägerlights are going to take a ton of attention, but at the same time, they're forced away by the supporting Volksgrens and these very, very aggressive Jägerlights. And with that retreat, the Germans might be able to take control again of the northern side of the map. They will have to do so without that Flak Panzer, at least for the time being. Because that Zis gun in the area, it is just too dangerous to really move him forward. But with the STGs, we might see themselves decrew on this gun. I don't know, but close. There are Penal Battalion troops coming up to really flank these Germans, which are actually going to get bum rushed by these conscripts behind them. They have taken out a fair chunk of that AT crew, almost taking it out completely, taking out 4 models. That one last elusive 5th model would have been more than enough to take them out, but does not happen. Instead, we are going to see mutually assured destruction as both the conscripts and the Volksgrens get shredded. And here comes the Flak Panzer. He is back in action, ready to have some more fun with targets. I imagine these Penal Battalion troops will be forced back rather quickly, and this Katyusha really should watch out where it goes. Infiltration grenades going down on the church, and a very, very short barrage coming out trying to nail these guys on retreat, I imagine. Ew, do a fair amount of damage. And the machine gun does go down on retreat. Now with the Flak Panzer on the move, yikes, this might be a little bit less positive than things had been otherwise. This gun does redeploy to the north, trying to pick up and pick on the Flak Panzer, but that's not going to happen too easily with the speed that it does possess. And only one squad of conscripts right now. Macos' crew is looking rather slim. A lot of it tied up in squads that don't add a lot of immediate battlefield value. I've mentioned this before. Support weapons are great at supporting. That's why it's part of their name. But what you really do need is you need to have that 3 or 4 squads of core infantry like here that you have at. You actually have 5, really. The Jägerlights are kind of like a light line unit, able to mix it up a little bit, at least to a certain degree. But at the same time being forced to kind of really depend on troops for a much more extended action. Like I said though, so this Ostwind now is worth its weight in gold. 7 kills, almost up to 1 full star veterancy. And with that Flak Panzer, the Germans have pretty much reestablished themselves on this map. Tightrope has things well in hand, I would say. Rakettenwerfer has not done squat this game. Is that guy still back? Oh no, he's just kind of chilling up here to the north. Poor guy hasn't even let off a single round, I don't think. Concept's gonna, or excuse me, shock troops are gonna come forward trying to pick on the Sturm Pios and the Volksgrens. But I'm not sure it's a great idea. I do think that if they wanted to, these infiltration grenades could be quite a hassle. And with 4 squads of infantry right there, they intelligently back away. The Katyusha starts to fire. Oh my gosh, beautifully placed barrage, but just these guys are going to make it out just before everything really hits. This huge meeting engagement in the middle part of the map. We are going to see Concept's going to get wrecked. I'm sure just a second here. These negative cover. Both sides. Jägerlights are going to go down. Yes, they are. So Tightrope losing a squad. Unfortunately, just a very, very unfortunate choice of cover, but the Concepts go down as well. Oh jeez. There's a Panzerfaust coming out on the Katyusha. Damaged engine on it, but doesn't take it out. And these 5-star squad of Volks really should consider backing away right now. T-34 might take out the Ostwind. Let me guess. No, let me rephrase. It's going to take out the Ostwind. It's gone practically plastered off the backside of that unfortunate anti-aircraft vehicle. But the sacrifice has not been in vain. It has allowed, again, like I keep saying, Tightrope just is trading a lot of lives and, to be fair, some resources for time. He has his final SWS being called in. I don't know where that thing is right now. A little bit further to the north. Yes, there we go. So if he plops that down right in this area, yeah, there could be a siege from a Zis gun here, or even back from here, at least a couple of areas right here. But you know, you can't really fault him for what he's got going on at the moment. Now, the curious thing is how well this Rakettenwerfer can slide forward and really be pinging on, ideally, the Katyusha. If he takes like the Katyusha, that is a massive, massive investment for not a whole lot of losses. But this Rakettenwerfer is just going to get attacked by everything. MG34 is going to start laying some hurt on this anti-tank gun. Oh my gosh, and somehow the Rakettenwerfer takes this T-34 in the flank, drops, okay, he's going to drop off that 105 howitzer barrage and send to, ooh, that's unfortunate. And there's just a lot of indirect fire going on back and forth, but you never ever see the howitzer actually being used to good effect. So he forces back a couple of guys, does a fair amount of damage, and this MG34 somehow is still alive. That is totally a triumph. And I'm going to guess that this Volk squad does retreat. Yes, it does. It backs away just before it can really take too much attention. And here come the IL-2 attacks. This might be a death of this anti-tank crew. Yes, it is. Drops off 2 models, and that T-34 be very, very intelligent. Throw a couple more rounds into the anti-tank gun before it gets recrewed yet again. So that thing seems fairly cursed, that's probably the best word for it. Shock troops are going to run afoul, though, 3 squads of German infantry. They're not going to be able to be helped out by those IL-2s. IL-2s are basically like, yo, bro, you are on your own. I would help you, but I apparently don't care enough. He throws off 1 bomb and then runs away. And this MG-34, which had been lost before, has now been taken back by Macos. And a second T-34 is coming out into the field. But there is also a Schwerpanzer headquarters out in the field as well. Maybe not the best placement. It is very, very defensive, and I say very defensive, I mean exceedingly defensive.
We have a new T-34 standing by.
But you can't really fault him for it. He's being kind of caught out quite a bit in this. Is he going to be able to get away? The T-34 is trying to put hurt on him, but no, it is going to safely back away just barely in time. And a lot of munitions are actually out on the map right now for the Germans, and with 319 he could throw down at least what, 1, 2 of these things, about 1.5 howitzer barrages at current, let's say, levels of supply. Did he run over a mine? I didn't even notice there was a mine there. Jeez. Appears he did, because there's engine damage on that bad boy, and although there are shock troops in the north having some fun with the Strumpyos, that tank is still wounded, and that's not what you want to see from your MBT that has just been called in. 166 to 253, tightrope is definitely walking one of them while he is not so much putting on a clinic, but both sides here have been exchanging body blows like crazy. Like, as you can see, almost practically mirrors all the time. Both guys is seeing some very, very quick pins from NG-34s, ironically. And the Katyusha is really not doing a whole lot, but has been manages to save a couple lives on the German side by blowing a hole into this church. Meantime, the Strumpyos are trying to face off against those, it looks like, oh wow, very wounded shock troops in the north that are chased away by T-34. And that 120mm mortar, it just continues to be quite a nuisance, to say the least. And I just realized with all of his headquarter buildings brought in, tightrope can really just stall out for a Tiger tank, and that Tiger B is an absolute god. And we kind of a godsend on this map as well. You have to think about how much sooner he would have this. Oh, never mind, he's going for a Panther. How much sooner he would have this, though, if he had not been forced to rebuild his mechanized regiment headquarters. But he is running out of time to bring in all those heavy vehicles. As you can see right now, 35 minutes into this game, 153-249. Not quite half tickets, but it is close enough to be kind of worrisome. On the plus side, he can't afford now 2 of those 105 howitzer barrages. I wonder if those Jaeger lights are going to toss a grenade over into yonder area with infiltration tactics. There's a couple of mines out in the field actually for the Russians as well. I didn't even notice that. Yikes, poor German's taking some firepower from that T-34. He's going to be able to back away just in time. And the Jaeger lights are ruined. They try to sneak in and they don't manage to do anything whatsoever. Germans, in the meantime, are going to go and take this top VP. They're going to take a fair amount of firepower to do so. Katyusha is firing. I don't know from where, though. No? Maybe not. But they are stopped just shy of actually taking that last teeny tiny bit of the wheel. But that's okay, even though a couple of these Germans do get splattered. Might be we finally see the death of the shock troop unit. But no, this thing, it just like, you know, he's got just a charmed life. Watch the T-34 start begin to back up and say, oh my gosh, I am totally outgunned now, sir. And this Panther says, yes, you may have another, and you may have a dessert after that as well. I don't care if you don't eat your vegetables. And say goodbye to that 76. He goes down. Now, Katyusha, in the meantime, is going to start launching again to the north. Has he taken out that anti-tank gun? No, he's not. Instead, that round has not managed to completely penetrate. In fact, I think all those AT guns and everything have backed off successfully. And as this gun begins to fire on the Panther, and it starts to laugh at it. Now, the conscript squad did try to immobilize the tank, throwing an AT grenade to do so, but that did not do a whole lot. In fact, it just kind of pinged off the surface. I was checking out to see how much more fuel we have before we see another one of those Ostvins. Oh, yeah. But 152 to 215, we see blue, white, and red points galore are actually open. And an Su-85 is being called in by Macos. He's trying desperately to figure out ways to deal with that Panther. It heavily outclasses his vehicles right now. Will we see a dead conscript squad? Yes, we do. Those poor conscripts, heavily vetted and are now deceased. And what happened, very, very good unit preservation coming out for Macos, is starting to fall off in the later stages of this game. Mercattenwerfer is standing up. In the meantime, over here in the center part of the map, he's not hidden just yet. But that will happen soon enough, I imagine. And these Opel Soldatens are coming down to kind of nail this peanut battalion. We are going to see these IL-2 attacks again, shredding the Opel Soldaten. And with the Schwer Panzer headquarters, we actually might see it get shot down. It'd be kind of interesting. It does happen rarely. Oh my gosh, all those guys are actually firing at him. I would love to see it actually crash. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but I'd love to see it actually crash. Meantime, Panther tank is just kind of hanging out on the edge of that ability. This MG-34 is probably going to take a fair amount of firepower. Rounds are coming in from these mortars. Both guys are retreating. And this Panther just says, that's not very nice. You shoot at a guy when his back is turned? That's not very sportsmanlike. Shock troops are moving in, as are these combat engineers. But against two fully vetted squads of Volksgrens, and from about 5 feet away, that's not a great idea. Dropping off a couple of models, but not doing a whole lot. Su-85 sliding forward as well. Are we going to see these guys toss off a couple of Panzerfausts? I don't know. But instead we actually are going to see this T-34 come over here to try to pick on this Panther. Doesn't really manage to successfully do so. And we are also going to see a Panzerfaust or two on the Su-85. Panther makes it out. We also are going to hear more rounds coming from that Katyusha. Trying to hit these guys on retreat. Yikes. Threading the needle every single time. These Germans have not taken any losses from the Katyusha on the way out. They have taken a little bit of losses from the T-34, but that's a different beast altogether. And while I would love to see a Ostwind at this point, it's not going to be a very good idea. My guess is they're probably stalling out for something else. I really do think that tightrope should be waiting just a wee bit longer, and he can pick himself up that Tiga. And if he has a Tiger on the field, ooh, won't that just be delicious? Obers are moving up to the north of that with lovely LMG. Is that an MG 34 or 42? It is a 34. You know, I've been calling that, at least for the Obers, at 42 for the longest time, so forgive me on that, folks. I know a lot of you guys are disappointed out there that I have not called it by the right name. Germans might successfully be able to fight off this stolen MG-34 in the north. Are they? They just... That gunner just seems to have a magnet when it comes to being shot at. But these shock troops are going to kind of force these guys away as well. And with this T-34 locking down the center part of this field, It is slowly running out of time
75 points remaining. You appear suited
for the Germans.
The enemy has taken our supply sector.
T-34 in the middle, backed up by the Zis gun. Both the mortar and the Katyusha in there as well. We might be seeing that final big surge coming out from the Germans, looking to really take out anything he's got left.
Supplies.
Yep, there comes a howitzer barrage, 105 howitzer barrage. If he doesn't start moving immediately, he's going to start buying it. And that's all he's trying to do. He's just trying to buy time for this howitzer barrage to come in and really, really put hurt onto the Russians here. Combat engineer squad almost going down. Fair amount of damage being done. Not enough to really completely secure the map, but enough to force guys away. That's all he's trying to do right now. 51 to 215. He is still clinging on with his teeth. I don't know how he does it. But I'm going to cling on with my teeth. IL-2 strikes coming in again on this munitions point. Not sure this is the most necessary area to be hitting. These Volksgrunts are just barely making it out. Panther's going to skip in between those IL-2 strafes, coming back up to the north, trying to pick on this stolen MG. And if he manages to take it out, that could be quite a good success. At that point, the northern position is heavily reduced. Is that the Su-85? Yes, it is. The Su-85 is coming from the north, trying to pick on the Panther, but it's not going to go very well either. And we're going to see a Panther IV coming in. Very good against those infantry that still remain on the map. But with two T-34s, a Zis gun and an Su-85, maybe not the best option, I guess? Because the Su-85, yeah, you can circle shape that poor beast to death. But the T-34s are a little bit too durable at the moment. Well, it is worth noting, though, that with that last IL-2 attack, Soviets are not going to have another strafe for quite a bit of time. And that does mean quite a big difference right there. Brigade is sliding forwards with a squad of Volksguns behind them. Volksguns are going to start trying to take on the Zis gun. Will manage to do so pretty easily. And Macos is just setting himself up for failure right now. He's not reacting at all. The T-34 should be doing something. Getting in, getting out. The Su-85 needs to be getting out. 51 to 198. He is just trying to... It seems like he's trading lives for time here. I don't think that's the right move. Oh, good heavens.
We are losing supplies to the enemy.
Yikes. So T-34 does get called off. There's no more T-34 coming in necessarily for Macos for the time being. But neither are their tickets draining from the Germans. And with a very, very reduced AT squad and two heavily damaged armored vehicles, Panzer IV's not coming in. It's going to take some incidental firepower from this T-34. And that's fine. You can trade those shots all day, because if you have two of your tanks to one of his, double rounds is double the fun.
We have more conscripts at our disposal.
Oh my gosh, and that Panther over there is just taking so much damage. And just tanking like a boss. He does manage, this Panzer IV does manage to get taken out. Where was that Zis gun? I'm assuming something's got to be like a Zis gun or something on that one. No, it couldn't possibly be the Zis gun. That thing has so much health. I don't know. But what I do know is that Panzer IV is dead. And when the king is dead, long live the king. It is worth noting right now that the Sturmpio squad that had been so vetted up is now deceased. And we have the three squads of Volksgrunts that have been in pretty much since the beginning of time. They are fully vetted up. This Obersoldaten squad is going to be able to kind of quickly scamper out of the way from this other barrage. From the Katyusha with 21 kills. 2 stars of veterancy. You have to doff your hat to that one just a little bit. But 43 to 178, this gets closer and closer all the time. And there's just not enough Soviet infantry to force back all the Germans that are on the field. And between those barrages, that MG-34 just rules the center of the map. Concept's going to get wrecked here. And dropping back, dropping models, dropping health. And this MG-34 in the bottom is desperately trying to help stave off inevitable defeat. Ah, yes. The MG to the north has been recovered. might not be recovered for long, because if you start firing a machine gun at a T-34, you are bound to be killed rather quickly. But the entire thing is just a stalling tactics. Like, once again, River is now going to be in on the area. The question is whether or not that T-34 chases him too much. No, he doesn't. And we have another one of those meeting engagements again. T-34 is coming across the line of fire for the Raketenwerfer. And miracles happen. That thing does not take any more firepower. Somehow he gets away before the Raketenwerfer fires again. Sneaky, sneaky squad of Volkskrans tries to come in to really pick on this Katyusha. The Katyusha, trying to be sneaky itself, drops a barrage just beyond where the Volkskrans are. So not a bit of damage is being done here. I lied. Never mind, a ton of damage is being done here, but not a lot of models are dropping. That's the important thing here. There is howitzer barrage coming down somewhere. The question is, oh my gosh, right in the middle of the map. Oh, good heavens. One round is all it's going to take to make all the Soviets cry. Oh my gosh. Oh, there we go. So one squad does go down. The other one's heavily, heavily damaged. Not enough to really be dead, just necessarily. Panther in the north takes out the Su-85. He might get taken out by this T-34, though. Both the anti-tank guns are down for the Germans. The gun is down for the Soviets as well. These conscripts are going to try to oorah in, I'm sure, for a anti-tank grenade. It might be just barely enough. Oh my gosh, he takes damage, and his last bit of FU, the Panther takes out the Soviet tank. Again, guys, you can't write scripts like that. That's like picture perfect movie right there. And despite having huge amounts of fuel, Macos has not been rebuilding as many of his troops at all, which I'm not quite sure I understand why. They are going to try to pick on this retreating Jaeger crude tank gun, and might be able to pick him up. I don't know. But if he does pick him up, it's going to be right on top of the German doorstep. That's not going to be a great idea either. The Germans are doing the frustration decap again. Katyusha is on the field. Here comes the rounds coming in. The Obersoldaten are going to pay for their temerity. You know, the important thing is that he's decapped the fuel. Not that it really matters that much, with 240 fuel points for the Soviets. Kind of a laughable concern right now. IL-2s are going to come in, though, which means those Germans are booking it. And they're still taking a ton of firepower. The smoke seems to be trailing to those poor Volkskrans' legs. I don't know how that was happening, but it did. 31 to 142. Once again, I keep saying this thing, it just gets closer and closer all the time. The mortar is now charging forward, because there's really only 2 squads of effective fighting infantry from Macos. These folks are just waiting just long enough for that IL-2 to back away. T-34 is going to take a little bit of firepower from those Volkskrans, but it's a joke. It's like, who cares? These guys are firing STGs at your armor that is, what, 70 millimeters thick? But it does seem that T-34 does not let the wreck of that Kubelwagen does take it out, and that thing does go down rather messily. And the 2nd Panzer IV comes up here to the north and decides to pick on this MG434, which has been captured one more time. Trading back and forth like nobody wants that stupid gun. One more round will do it, though. Yikes. And doesn't manage to do it. It's just firing away like crazy. There we go. Finally goes down, and with that machine gun being lost, that means Soviets are not going to be able to suppress the north very well. I don't know, if I were Macos, I'd be building a lot more tanks in the first place. I would be spamming those guys out like crazy. Looks like the Germans will probably take the northern VP just before the Soviets take the southern one. No, never mind. It'll be just after the Soviets take the southern one. So still going to be a slight drain in favor of tightrope. And this is the kind of game you really want to watch as a caster, and play as a player for that matter. You don't know who's going to win. You really don't. And that's the kind of thrilling thing that makes Company of Heroes 2 a lot of fun. Yay. But now another T-34 is on the field, and with one Zis gun really as it. Raketenwerfer is now on the field as well, so we see both the anti-tank guns deploying to the north. No, we see the machine guns up and around, but not really what you're looking for at this time. T-34 in the center of the field. Of course, here's rockets coming from the Katyusha, and it is just close enough to that where the grouping on it is brutally tight.
Shock troops have arrived.
Shock troops. So, oh my gosh. Oh, smoke rounds coming in from that mortar. Infiltration grenades are coming out on those shock troops, destroying them, knocking them out really, really quickly. And this T-34 might buy it if there is any sort of Panzerfausting from these Volksgrens. One moves in right now to kind of damage it. And taking fire from that Zis gun. And now again from the Panzer IV. This could be it for the Soviet armored might. Damaged engine. One more round will do it. There it goes. There goes one tank. The other one's still up and doesn't really take a whole lot of damage. But round after round just spills into the unfortunate crew cabin of that T-34. And what is shooting at it from the rear? It can't be that Panzer IV. Something else has got to be doing something with that. Shot whistles by the T-34, and you half per second, you're praying for him to get away. But I don't think it's going to happen. Conscripts are nowhere near them. He can't call in any kind of anti-tank grenades. If he charges in, he could take out this... Oh my gosh. Will he go for the Katyusha? No, instead he just continues to fire at the T-34, knowing that's really the only thing that can really stave off any kind of inevitable victory from him. The howitzer barrage is going to come down. Those conscripts are going to get away, but it does do a lot of area denial. Will it do any kind of damage really to that building? No, it won't. You would think a 105 howitzer would do a lot more than it does. Concepts are coming in for another one of those anti-tank grenades. Trying to use them on cooldown. Don't think it's actually enough to really take him out, though. Grenade! Nope, damaged engine, still a damaged engine. And there are gearboxes and bits and pieces all over the field, but it's not going to be enough to take out the Panzer IV. And the Katyusha takes out the Panzer IV. That's something you don't see every day. But what that does mean, though, is that there is half the army supply for Macos that there is for tightrope. And tightrope is definitely just pushing that to the fullest. He is pushing forwards, being super active. Well played by both players, but you have to tip your hat a little bit more to tightrope. He was behind by quite a bit, almost 200 VPs at one point, calling in his third Panzer IV. And he didn't give up. He dropped under 100 points. He's been down at least 150 points for most of the game. It hasn't really been to the last 10 or 15 that he's really been able to be super, super competitive. Katyusha, in the meantime, 23 kills. It is going to line up, I'm guessing, on these Volksgrens right here if these guys are still here in another 6 seconds or so. And I guess those guys are not going to be here in 6 seconds. Going to back away instead. Katyusha, firing on retreat. Nope, not quite. It's decided not to do that.
We have only 50 points remaining.
Obers and the Jaeger Lights are putting down firepower instead, and with a trip cap out for the Germans, I don't think the Soviets have enough to manage a comeback. Well played by both players. So really, honestly, for me, a very, very exciting game. Guys, as this game finishes up, I do want to repeat my call for your games. I have seen some things from you guys on Reddit already, and I love that. But you know what? I want to see more of your stuff. If you are lieutenant or above in any kind of faction, or if you just believe you had a really, really good set of plays, I want to see it. I'm also putting together right now a top Company of Hero 2 plays. If you want to start sending me some material on that, more than happy to see it. Check it out. Like I said, getting really, really super close, I think, to having this just nearly not quite done, but that's going to happen. It's going to be over any second. Yes, the Soviets are going to take the bottom VP, and that's just going to be oh so unfortunate, but yeah, the Soviets are going to lose the middle yet again. Alright guys, I'm going to speed this up the last couple tickets. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I wouldn't do this stuff if you guys didn't watch it. Always appreciate you guys do. Always appreciate your comments. If you want to give me some more feedback, I'm more than happy to hear that as well. But guys, I do believe that's going to be it for me today. This is going to be Con Ulrich signing off. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you all next time on Company of Heroes 2.